Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, February 3rd, 2017.
Commissioner Rivas, Commissioner Repenning, Commissioner James, and Commissioner Davis are present. President James, we have a quorum. May we start with Bureau introductions, please, starting with Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning. Good morning, Steve Chen, Bureau of Engineering.
Good morning, Hannah Choi, Bureau of Contract Administration.
Good morning, Chris Enriquez, Bureau of Street Lighting.
Good morning, Ana Tabuena Roddy, Bureau of Street Services.
Good morning, Anita Fernandez, Alley Sanitation.
Good morning, Ted Jordan, Public Works General Counsel.
Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. President James, we do not have any speaker cards under general public comment nor commentary under the Neighborhood Council section. We did receive a speaker card under item number 1 for today's agenda.
Okay. You guys can bring that down. We'll close general public comment as well as the Neighborhood Council category of commentary. Is there a second to my motion that we approve the meeting minutes from the meeting of Wednesday, January 18th, 2017? By Commissioner Repenning, I'm sorry. Didn't see. Any objection? With that objection, we will do that. Let's go ahead and take care of, we'll call agenda item number 1. One moment. Well, a couple of housekeeping items first. Agenda item number 2. It's been requested by the City Council Office, CD 14, that we continue the item until Friday, February 17th. So we will continue agenda item number 2 until Friday, February 17th at the request of the Council Office. Agenda item number 7. This is a document being sent back, a letter of agreement being sent back for signature, recommending that the board receive notice that as of January 4th, 2017, the mayor has approved and authorized the board to execute a letter of agreement with the Social and Environmental Entrepreneurs Incorporated to implement the Cool Blocks LA program. This is a program that we signed an authority for expenditure with, I believe back in December 17. It's an attachment to the board report. Back in December of 2016, I should say, for $150,000. This is just a letter agreement being sent back for signature. Is there a second to my motion that we adopt agenda item number 7 forthwith? By Commissioner Repenning. Any objection? With that objection, we will do so. Agenda item number 1, Council District 3, above ground facility variance, 7057 North Millwood Avenue, recommending that the board approve the request for a variance from the height limitation requirements of the above ground facility ordinance pursuant to Los Angeles Municipal Code Section 62.08 VB, and authorize Mobility LLC to install a 36-foot, 1-inch high wood monopole in the public right-of-way adjacent to 7057 North Millwood Avenue on the Galt Street side of the lot. Mr. Ledoux on number 1, and we have a speaker on number 1 as well. So go ahead, sir. Mr. Ledoux.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Ledoux. I work with Bureau of Engineering Central District U-Permit section. As it says there, this is a mobility monopole. It is 36 feet 1 inch tall. It is in a residential area adjacent to a single-family home, which is at 7057 North Millwood Avenue. The property owner there is Gustavo Flores. He did try to appeal this application. Unfortunately, his appeal did not get to us in time, but I did contact Mr. Flores and tell him that this was coming to the board, that he could come fill out a speaker card and speak to the board on this application adjacent to his property. As you see here, I'm assuming that's who we have here today. This is in CD3 Bob Blumenthal's council district. To my knowledge, they're remaining neutral on this. I do have a copy of the appellant's letter here, so I'll pass that around. He raised several issues, which he can clarify a little bit more. One was that it's too close to his sewer line, and if they had to do some sewer work improvement, it could cause a problem. I did look at where the lateral from his property comes out to the main, and basically there's about it's 7 feet away from the sewer lateral where the proposed monopole is going to be placed. He also talked about, his driveway, that they might want to widen it in the future. And so I looked at it. Basically, let's see here, the driveway there, edge closest to where the pole is proposed is 102 feet east, or I should say west of Millwood Avenue, and the pole is 116 feet. So there's a difference of 14 feet from the closest part of the driveway that this pole would be proposed at. So if he did get permit to widen the driveway, the chances of that interfering would be slim, because there's 14 feet away from the edge of it. He did mention health effects to his family. As you know, the FCC has said that permitting agencies may not deny a permit nor ask that an installation be moved on the basis of health risks. And that was the general gist of the appeal letter that I just passed around. And that's all I have on this one.
See if I have any other questions real quick at that. Let's just get through. You talked about the driveway, you talked about the sewer line, you talked about the health issue with the FCC. What about this reference to fruit trees and vegetables that are within the property?
This is a very low-powered antenna. It is at the top of a 30-foot high pole, because you have the pole and then you have the antenna, which makes up the 36 feet 1 inch. These radio frequency radiation, according to the FCC, it's a non-iodizing radiation. It does not affect cells. It should have no effect from that distance to anything that's in his yard.
And what service is this apparatus assisting? What type of service? Cell service, Wi-Fi?
It's basically wireless service. Sprint is the major customer behind the mobility build-out, and basically they rent to Sprint, and Sprint rents the end users, such as the consumers who use it for their cell phone reception and all.
What about other alternative locations for this monopole in reference to the letter appeal that we'll hear more about in a minute?
Basically, we have representatives from Mobility here who can address, what they did as far as finding this particular site. If need be, we can get together with the owner and with Mobility and see if there's a other location that might be better.
Did we do any kind of alternative site analysis? Maybe Mobility can get to that on before. I'm assuming, since the appeal wasn't timely, that the appeal did not prompt any alternative site visits. Is that assumption correct?
It is, and for two reasons. One is I'm not qualified to cite a cell tower. You're talking about you need a radio frequency engineer who knows about propagation of the radio frequencies, and also someone who's familiar with Mobility's network to see where this thing could go so that it would function within the entire network.
Okay. Could we have a representative from Mobility talk about the locations that were reviewed for this agenda item and why this selection was chosen? Hi.
Good morning, members of the board. We chose this location in particular. It was in the side yard. It wasn't in the front yard. There was a lot of residential properties in the area. We didn't want to put them in anyone's front yard. There is, directly across the street are high voltage power lines, and we can't put those in between high voltage power lines. I was actually looking at this last night. I didn't actually know there was anyone interested in an appeal, so I didn't know to do a site alternative analysis, but I was looking at it last night. There was an empty lot down the road, which I was like, why didn't we choose that? But once again, it was the high voltage power lines that were the big issue.
Near the empty lot?
Yeah, near the empty lot. There this is about 10 feet taller than the light poles in the area.
Okay.
And I do have to say, if just to put your mind at ease a little bit regarding the fruit trees, I have put large cell phone towers on orange and avocado plants in Ventura County, and it caused no adverse effect.
Okay. Commissioner Rivas?
I had a question. You said the high voltage lines, is that like the power lines or the street
The
lights?
power lines.
Okay.
Yeah, we can't put them in between the lines that run between the electrical poles.
Okay.
On how-
So that was the only alternative location across the street, you said, but because of those high
Because of
voltage
that,
lines, you can't
yes.
place it.
And there are some, about a block and a half down, there are some commercial lots. It's out of our search ring.
Thank you, ma'am. Could we hear from Mr. Flores?
Good morning, everybody. Sorry, I get so kind of nervous. Okay, my name is Gustavo Flores, and I'm the owner of this lot. As you see, I don't know if you can pass this. This is the plan that they sent to me. If you can see it, okay. Very close. It's only like 6 feet apart from where they planning to have the post. It's only like 6 feet apart, and I have some trees over there and some vegetables. And most of the days, I be there every day, like 1 hour. I spend 1 hour cleaning and doing some work. So I was thinking that it's something that is going to affect my health. That's the first thing. The other thing is around only 20 feet apart from my son's room. So it's a concern to me because it's my son and it's very close. You can see in the plants that is very close to my sewer line, which if is any problem in the future to do a sewer line, you're not going to cave a very small hole. You make a very big hole because it's at least 6 or 7 feet deep. So if that pole is very close to there, so I might damage the foundation. Another thing is, well, one of the things is over there is not very beautiful, the neighborhood. And I don't have too much to see in the sky. So now the only thing, that's why if you see in the picture, so you can see I built the fence higher because I have a apartment builder just across my street. And I just don't like to see the buildings. I like to see the sky. And now they're planning to have a very long pole, so it's my view. I know that's something people don't care about, but I do care. And mostly I oppose, it's like, well, it's my house. Just think about it, if this was your house, it's your people, your family, they have lied to us every time that the cellular phone don't damage our health, but I think it does. And probably when I called the person in charge, they told me it's only like the radiation similar like a microwave, okay? It's been a long time I don't use microwave. Imagine having your microwave 24 hours a day, okay? So to me, I'm worried about it. If you can do something to cancel that project, they can. There is so many places that is not close to the neighborhood, to the residents. There is one big lot, probably like 200 apart, or to the other side is the metro line. There is not a residence, so they can think about it. I don't know.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Could I have the mobility representative back? Ma'am, I'm sorry, would you say your name again for me?
Shannon Nichols.
Ms. Nichols.
Yes.
Thank you. We have a number of Shannons that come through,
That's
so
okay.
I knew that, but I wanted your last name. So, do we just raise some of the issues that were raised and the reference that you even made to some other lots in the area, and the fact that we didn't have an appeal that prompted other site reviews, I'm inclined to waive the lateness of the appeal to see if you all can work together to find something that might be beneficial, and see what happens then. But I do have a question. Do you happen to know, and I don't even know if you're privy to this information, but do you happen to know what the coverage availability is for the area in question, so that if this infrastructure is not placed, are these residents then access deprived to?
In the future, yes. The way broadband is growing, they will need that. The spectrum that, especially 5G and 4G run off of, is much smaller range and only can travel so far within a couple of blocks, as opposed to your voice and your data. It's not your data, some of the other spectrums that the larger cell towers run. So they can go for miles, where these can only go for a couple of blocks. And the growth of broadband will definitely hinder.
So that's what we have to balance here a bit, the access to the community to wireless for all kinds of things.
Past 10 years, broadband has grown 250,000%.
Right.
Not 250, but 250,000.
Right. So, and we want our residents to have access for
Yeah,
their work and for their jobs and for their family and for emergencies and for school and all kinds of stuff. So that's a balancing act that we have to do. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Davis.
In terms of the alternatives, Ms. Nichols, in terms of the potential alternative sites, are there any in the area?
There's always going to be another side yard or perhaps another location. I'm happy if you to sit down and take a better look at this to see if it is the best alternative or if there are other alternatives that could be used. If that makes everyone comfortable, I'm happy to do my due diligence, especially in residential neighborhoods.
Correct, and I don't want to get into the science of, in terms of the emissions that come or don't come from this, but it seems as if the complainant and neighbors are having some issues with regard to emissions that come from the technology here, notwithstanding the need to have access to the service. And so if, in fact, we could entertain an alternative site within that region, that might be able to solve the problem in the best interest of both the company and the constituents. So I think that your offer to look at that might be welcomed to some degree.
Okay. And just so you know, this isn't run on microwave, the microwave spectrum.
Oh, I see.
Okay. So what I would propose then is that we waive the deadline for appeal that passed for Mr. Flores, and have the representatives from Mobility and Mr. Ledoux, if necessary, do a review on, hear his concerns, see if there are other sites that are available, and then when it's ready to be re-agendized it with the Bureau's recommendation to us, and then we'll make a determination that way.
I think that's fair.
I want to have one final question.
Commissioner, I'm sorry, Mr. Jordan.
Yes, I happen to pull up the location on my phone,
Yes.
The street view, and so I might recommend, there is a street light on the same side of the street that this facility is proposed to be located on, so it's not right underneath the high voltage power lines. It's on the same side of the street, on the next block over on Galt. So while they're out there for the field visit, I'm pointing that out because that may be a location. It may or may not work for what they need to transmit, but since our preferred location, and I think for mobility as well, they often utilize our streetlight facilities. So we have, not a new pole in the right of way, just, facilities added to an existing pole. It may be something that they can take a look at.
Okay. And again, I think that wasn't done because there was no appeal here, so. Right. Okay, Commissioner Davis?
I just wanted a general question answered in terms of public education, do we often educate the residents about the technology we're using in any given proposal? In, for example, this case, do we educate them in terms of this is not going to be a microwave kind of situation, or just in fact whatever it is, let them know so that they would have the benefit of
No,
it?
we often don't.
Oh, I see.
That's usually sort of a decision made by the carrier.
I see.
As long as I think they feel as long as they're working with the FCC guidelines and the legal guidelines that it's.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So, I don't know if we want to continue the item. Mr. Ledoux, what would you suggest? Would you suggest a continuance, or would you suggest a withdrawal and then resubmittal?
I would suggest continuance. What time do you think we need to have in order to go out in the field and look at this and come back?
Okay.
4 weeks.
Mr. Campos, what do you have on the calendar there?
I can look 4 weeks from today would be Friday, March the 3rd.
Okay.
If I can suggest also,
Yes.
withdrawing the item may be more feasible at this point in time, since the recommendations may actually change if the board opts to waive the appeal process, and if there is alternative locations that may change the current recommendations. If you continue the item, then the item could be considered on March the 3rd, based on some amendments that may be presented before your board, or the original recommendations may stand.
Well, whatever's easier. I want to make it whatever's easier for the Bureau here.
The Bureau's policy is, if at all possible, is to continue, not to withdraw.
Okay. So, and if you have to continue with a revision, then you can do that.
Then we can always
Yeah.
adopt
Okay.
correct, as amended.
Then we'll do that. So we'll continue it to March 3rd. Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir. Agenda item number 3. Above ground facility variance 21045 West Osborne Street, CD3, recommending that the board approve the request for a variance from the height limitation requirements of the above ground facilities ordinance pursuant to LA Municipal Code Section 6208 VB, and authorize Mobility LLC to install a 43-foot high 1-inch wood monopole in the public right-of-way adjacent to 21045 West Osborne Street. Mr. Ledoux on number 3.
Once again, we have a mobility pole, 31 feet, 1 inch. This is in a light manufacturing area. It is not close to any houses or buildings. It's sort of an ideal place to place this. It is in CD3, Bob Blumenfeld. They are remaining neutral at this point. I did notify 8 different lots with this application. I have received no phone calls or emails, either pro or con, and no one tried to appeal this one.
Okay, any questions on agenda item number 3? This one is an easier situation, it sounds like to me. Without any questions, I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 3, seconded by Commissioners Repenning and Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3. Any issue sending number 3 forthwith? We will send number 3 forthwith. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ms. Nichols. Agenda item number 4, Council District 2 requested contract amendment for the Hollywood Beautification Team, recommending that the board authorize OCB to amend an existing contract with the Hollywood Beautification Team in the amount of $100,000 for the Vineland Median Beautification Project. Mr. Roch on number 4.
Good morning. Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. The Hollywood Beautification Team is one of the OCB nonprofit community-based organizations currently under contract for various community beautification services, graffiti abatement, public right-of-way cleanup, tree planting, and other duties as assigned and or funded. Via council action, the Office of Councilmember Paul Krikorian has transferred funds from the Universal North Hollywood and Studio City Improvement account to the Board of Public Works Contractual Services account to fund the Vineland Median Beautification Project in Council District 2. This project would focus primarily along the walkway on the west side of Vineland Avenue and will include the planting of drought-tolerant plants, native plants, and trees, and then fund the ongoing maintenance of those plantings. Board approval is requested to allow the Office of Community Beautification to amend an existing contract with HBT to perform these services as designated by the Office of Councilmember Krikorian.
Any questions on agenda item number 4? I don't have any questions on number 4. I'll make a motion on number 4, seconded by Commissioners Davis and Rivas. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 4. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send number 4 forthwith so they can get busy. Mr. Roch on number 5, contract amendment for the Koreatown Youth and Community Center, CD4, requesting that the board authorize the Office of Community Beautification to amend an existing contract amendment with the Koreatown Youth and Community Center in the amount of $300,000 to provide funding for services to be provided as part of the Western Avenue Great Streets Beautification Program. What's going on here, sir?
So, Koreatown Youth and Community Center is another one of the nonprofit agencies under contract with the Office of Community Beautification. Approval of this item would again allow OCB to amend an existing contract with KYCC to provide funding for beautification services as part of the Western Avenue Great Streets project in Council District 4. The Great Streets initiative of Mayor Garcetti seeks to improve neighborhood gathering places and generate economic activity through the revitalization of key community corridors and the reimagination of the public streetscape. Western Avenue from 3rd Street to Melrose is one of these designated corridors, and funding will be used to provide for the design and the infrastructure improvements along this stretch of Western Avenue. KYCC would be working closely with the Great Streets team, Office of Mayor Garcetti, and the Office of Councilmember Rue on the design and then the implementation of these improvements. The LA Conservation Corps, via previously approved board action, will be providing tree planting services along this same stretch of Western Avenue as well. Funding has been transferred from the CRA LA Excess Bond Proceeds Fund into the board's contractual services account by council action and is available for use on this project. Board approval is requested to allow us to begin the amendment process.
Any questions on agenda item number 5? I don't either. Sounds great. I'll make a motion. Commissioner Davis has made a motion that we adopt agenda item number 5. I'll second it. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 5. Any issue sending 5 forthwith? We'll send 5 forthwith. I see you're here on number 6.
One more time.
Council District 2, contract amendment, also Hollywood Beautification Team, recommending that the board authorize OCB to amend an existing contract with HBT for supplemental community beautification services in the amount of $136,500 to effectively maintain and water trees along Glen Oaks Boulevard. Mr. Roch.
So again, Office of Community Beautification requesting board approval to amend an existing contract. Funding for this project has been transferred via council action from the Council District 2 portion of the Athens Services Community Benefits Trust Fund into the board's contractual services account in the amount of $136,500. The Athens Services Community Benefits Trust Fund was established to provide funding for environmental, healthcare, and transportation-related projects and programs and services in Council Districts 2, 6, and 7. Funding is being made available for the following services: the watering and maintenance of existing trees along Glen Oaks Boulevard in the community of Sun Valley. And once again, we request board approval to allow us to begin the contract amendment process.
You know, I only have one question, Paul, and I don't remember. Let me look real quick. This is number 6. I don't have 6. Does somebody else have 6? Let me, yeah. question is just technical, but HBT changed their name to Los Angeles Beautification Team. And my question is, so it did say in the motion, which I recalled looking at online. I don't have my hard copy here. It says LA Beautification Team in the motion, but what we're approving is Hollywood Beautification Team. Are we copacetic there? Are we okay, Mr. Jordan, Mr. Roch, with just, procedurally, we want to approve this, but is the name change, is it a problem for either number 5 or number 6 or number 4?
HBT has a DBA, doing business as.
Yeah.
LA Beautification Team. Still their official name, and the name that we have a current contract with for them is Hollywood Beautification Team. So the two are somewhat used interchangeably. The OCB contract does state Hollywood Beautification Team, which is why we bring that name forward. That is sort of their official designated name. They just have a DBA for LA Beautification Team, as they have expanded their services beyond just the Hollywood area and doing a lot of work citywide now.
That answers my question. I just wanted to make sure that HBT still existed. Go ahead, Ted.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I mean, we also have the contract number referenced here.
Yeah.
And so
I was just concerned that maybe with a name change,
right?
HBT went by the wayside and it's LABT, but it sounds like we're fine either way. Okay, great. Then I'll make a motion on number 6 as well. Seconded by Commissioner Rivas and Commissioner Davis. Any objection? Without objection, we'll adopt number 6. Any issue sending number 6 forthwith? We'll send number 6 forthwith. Thank you for the clarification. Thank you, sir. Mr. Campos, have we cleared the desk?
Yes, you have.
Then we are adjourned, except for a brief management meeting that maybe we'll have for a few minutes this morning. Mr. Jordan and Mr. Campos on a